Hi, my name's Patrick and I'm the founder of Sonopolis Academy, where our mission is to help you get the best TOEFL score possible. In this video, we are going to present to you a practice test for the TOEFL speaking section. When we wrote the practice test, we used actual topics and terminologies that are associated with those topics, so that it matches the difficulty level of the actual exam. I know some of you think that the speaking section is the most difficult part of this test, but I can reassure you with enough practice and strategic preparation, anyone can get the score that they want. And that's why Sonopolis is here, to provide you instruction, feedback, and practice so that you can get the dream score. Lastly, if you appreciate our content and would like more, please like, subscribe, and turn on the bell notification so that you can stay up to date to our latest content. So, without further ado, let's start the practice test and good luck. Speaking section directions. The speaking section of the TOEFL IBT gauges your skill and ability to express yourself in English on a variety of topics. For the new TOEFL, you'll be asked to complete 4 questions. The first question asks you to speak about a familiar topic. You'll be evaluated on your ability to speak clearly and coherently. As for the next 2 questions, you'll be asked to provide a response according to a passage you've read and listened. The first integrated task will have you read a short passage on a campus-related announcement. Then, you will listen to a conversation between a male and female student expressing their opinion on the matter. The second integrated task will ask you to read a passage on an academic topic. Then, you will listen to a lecture about the topic. For both tasks, you will be asked to combine relevant information from what you have read and listened to give a coherent response. As for the last task, you will be asked to listen to a short lecture on a certain academic topic. You will then be asked to provide a summary on the topic and the examples being used to illustrate the topic. Your answers to these tasks will be evaluated on your ability to speak clearly and coherently. Throughout the section, you can write down notes on what you have read and listened about the passages, conversations, and lectures. You are advised to use those notes as you prepare your answer. Listen carefully to the directions for each question. A short time, 15 to 30 seconds depending on the question, will be given as you prepare your answer. A timer will be present and will display how much preparation time remains. Once the preparation time is up, you will be asked to start speaking. A timer will display how much speaking time remains. When the speaking time is up, a message will appear on the screen. Directions. You will now be asked a question about a familiar topic. After you read the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare your response and 45 seconds to speak. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Reducing the hours per week that a student can spend on university jobs can relieve academic stress. Please state your opinion and explain your reasoning. You now have 15 seconds to prepare your response. You may begin after the beep. You now have 45 seconds to speak. You may begin speaking after the beep. Directions. You will now read a short passage and then listen to a conversation on the same topic. You will then be asked a question about them. After you hear the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. You have 45 seconds to read the passage below. You may begin reading now. Now, listen to two students discussing the announcement.
I don't think that's a good idea,
What do you mean?
because it's not going to help with anything. A simple look at the situation could tell us that most of the noises comes from off-campus, from residential areas, where all the restaurants and bars are. Reducing on-campus activities simply wouldn't make much of a difference in reducing noise.
That's a good point. My friends actually told me that the noise they heard at night are mostly from students enjoying their dinners off campus. They don't really consider those chit-chats disturbing.
Right. And as for the impact on students, I definitely think that the environmental department is going in the wrong direction. I mean, the nighttime is when the students can participate in extracurricular activities. How can they have a full college experience if they are limited to doing anything at night on campus?
Oh, really?
Yes, since most lectures and study groups happen during the day, most students are preoccupied with them. It is the nighttime when students can explore their interests and unwind by engaging in extracurricular activities.
The male student expresses his opinion on the university's plan to limit night activities. State his opinion and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion. You now have 30 seconds to prepare your response. You may begin after the beep. You have 60 seconds to speak. You may speak after the beep. Directions. You will now read the short passage and then listen to a lecture on the same topic. You will then be asked a question about them. After you hear the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. You have 45 seconds to read the passage below. You may begin reading now. Now, listen to part of a talk in a biology class. The professor is discussing plant adaptation.
Okay, so we've discussed plant behaviors when they undergo environmental stress, which I think is incredibly fascinating. Actually, there's some research which suggests that plants display adaptive behaviors when they are under repeated exposure to the same stress. For example, let's discuss the plant species Mimosa pudicea. Mimosa is known as a sensitive plant because of its behavior of closing its leaves when it senses danger. In an experiment with a custom-designed apparatus, botanists simulated a natural disturbance by dropping water on Mimosa. To no one's surprise, Mimosa closed its leaves immediately after the exposure. The botanists then took this a step further by repeatedly dropping water on the leaves of the mimosa. They could observe that the mimosa plants ceased closing their leaves when it recognized that the repeating disturbances weren't threatening. Such display of learned behavior took place rather quickly, which amazed the researchers as the learning speed is comparable to more biologically complex organisms, such as animals. Another amazing adaptation of the mimosa plants is that they are capable of prioritizing internal regulations based on survival needs. In another experiment, the botanists have found that the mimosa plants displayed adaptation to environmental stress even faster when they realized that the stress actually gets in the way of their absorbing nutrients. In that sense, the plants were able to weigh nutrient absorption as a more important regulation over the repeated non-threatening danger. It is important to know that mimosa plants also commit the learned behaviors in both their short and long-term memories. When the plants are left under favorable conditions for almost a month, they are still able to display the same learned behavior of not closing their leaves when they were exposed to the same stimulation, which is beyond amazing.
Explain how the examples of the mimosa plants demonstrate the principle of plant adaptation. You now have 30 seconds to prepare your response. You may begin after the beep. You have 60 seconds to speak. You may speak after the beep. Directions. You will now listen to a lecture on an academic topic. You will then be asked a question about them. After you hear the question, you will have 20 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. Now, listen to part of a lecture in a statistics class.
Right, let's discuss sampling error. So what does it mean? In statistical terms, sampling errors occur when sampling is conducted in a way that is not randomized, or in simpler terms, some members or variables of the sampling population have a higher or lower probability of being selected than others. One might argue that a survey with a non-randomized sample can still yield meaningful statistical conclusions. But I have to disagree with that. Statistical claims with sampling errors should not be used as they can't accurately reflect the opinions of the population. First, let's look at the non-randomized bias within a company setting. Let's say you would like to conduct a survey about employee satisfaction towards a company. The variables are the surveyors and the respondents. When those variables aren't randomly selected, you might have the boss be a surveyor asking new employees whether they like the company or not. As you could imagine, the employee's response would likely be skewed favorably towards the company. They just don't want to come off as people who complain a lot, and so are more likely to give a favorable response to avoid potential confrontation. Another type of sampling error that would render statistical conclusions inaccurate is the self-selection bias. It happens whenever the sampling population has the control to decide whether to participate in a survey or not. Let's again put this into context within a company setting. If you would want to conduct a survey about working pressure and you allowed employees to voluntarily participate in it, you can expect inaccurate results because those who are likely to take place in the survey would be those who are less stressed about their work. Similarly, those who are busy wouldn't have the time to do the survey.
Using points and examples from the lecture, explain the two types of bias presented by the professor. You now have 20 seconds to prepare your response. You may begin preparing after the beep. You have 60 seconds to give your response. You may begin speaking after the beep. Congratulations on finishing the test! I know it's a very difficult test, but you have made it through. Please give yourself a big round of applause. And as you keep on studying, please make sure to reflect on all the practice that you have done and think of the improvements that you can apply on your future practice. And if you have any question, please feel free to leave a comment down below and I will answer them when I see them. It's nice to have you here. My name's Patrick and I will see you next time.